Hello everyone, Moose2006 here, and welcome to This Week in Gaming News plus new releases. The big news item of the week, of course, is this FTC business trying to block the Microsoft acquisition of Activision, and it's kind of nice to see them flexing some muscle finally, and let's take a look at what's actually going on with this story so far. The FTC, the Federal Trade Commission, and this is straight from the ftc.gov website, they are alleging that the $69 billion deal between Microsoft and Activision Blizzard will be the largest ever in video game industry and would enable Microsoft to suppress its competitors. Microsoft decided to make several of Bethesda's titles, including Starfield and Redfall, Microsoft exclusives, even though they had shown assurances beforehand to European antitrust authorities that it had no incentives to withhold games from rival consoles. And this part here, I think, is pretty important that they kind of went back on their word a little bit, because there's of course been news lately about this 10-year deal they've given Sony about keeping Call of Duty on other, basically on Sony and Nintendo devices or platforms. So if they've already gone back on their word once, how much is set in stone here? It's a little iffy, I would say. Let's keep going. This is really the important part of why the FTC is doing this, of course, is to try and stop monopolies from coming into existence. And so they say here that if Microsoft is able to buy out Activision, they can manipulate pricing, degrade game quality, etc., all resulting in harm to consumers, same thing, I guess. And so, yeah, that's really why this is really, really important, is the stopping of monopolies is probably has not been done enough in our country's history. And it's always a good thing to be pro-consumer, anti-monopoly. I've seen people out and about sort of defending this buyout, mostly claiming that this probably wouldn't lead to a monopoly anyway, and saying things like, well, why would they start now and not before when other companies have done similar things? And none of it really matters. Just if you or your friends are defending Microsoft here, maybe take a second look, because a company who can afford a $69 billion buyout does not need any defense from us who are making, who will never see $69 million, let alone $69 billion. I mean, it is an unfathomable amount of money. So it is really, really nice to see the FTC finally flexing a little bit of muscle here, and at least looking into this a little closer. Now, I don't think they'll actually put a stop to it. I don't think anything will come of this. I think by this time next year, probably by this time next summer, we will fully see this acquisition happen, and who knows then what will come. Will Microsoft stay true to their word? Will we see anti-consumer practices happening? Who knows? These are two huge corporations joining together. I do want to point out just a couple words here from Phil Spencer of Microsoft, of course. He made this statement, and this is in an article from Eurogamer.net, and he says the largest console maker in the world, talking about Sony, raising an objection about the one franchise that we've said will continue to ship on the platform. It's a deal that benefits customers through choice and access. This is BS. A large corporate buyout does not benefit the customers through choice and access. Monopolies do not benefit the customers through choice and access. It's actually the opposite of this. So this is very nice spin. It's very good wordplay from Phil Spencer. I don't believe it for a second. It is just false. It is not a true thing. So that is what's going on so far. I'm sure we'll continue to see this saga unfold over the next 6 to 12 months, if not more, but we'll see. Next up, a little more legal stuff happening. This is from the developer of the Outbound Ghost, which released last week on Steam, and their publisher. So, this is from PCGamer.com. The developer is Conradical Games, I believe. It's a single developer, Conrad Grindheim, I believe you pronounce his last name. And he put out a video where he basically put his publisher on blast and said that they released it without it being up to his current standard and threatening legal action against the publisher, Digerati.
But the main reason is that my relationship with the game's publisher has been dissolved, but they refuse to hand back control of the relevant pages and are profiting from the situation. We are currently studying the appropriate legal actions to resolve this, and we'll do all that is necessary to resolve the situation and protect the game.
So the publisher released it. He wasn't happy. He said shortly after, the article claims that shortly after the Switch version went live, Conrad Grindheim, the developer, said that the control of the launch was out of his hands and accused the publisher of releasing it before it was finished and approved by him. The price reduction that happened on Steam shortly after was not of his doing and not approved by the studio. Once the matter is resolved, he says that he'll upgrade the version. And here's where it gets a little dicey as well. Conrad Grindheim, the developer, took a knife to the Steam page. He renamed it to "The game is no longer authorized by the developer." Screens and trailers were removed. Description requirements were gone. The most recent Steam update had no text, etc., etc. Then there is some controversy around this, that maybe there are some other players involved outside of the developer and publisher. Who knows? This did get delisted on Steam eventually, though it is now back on Steam. There's some blame there, but it did eventually come out that Steam had delisted it because of this kind of spat going on. So that was uncovered later. So Digerati said that they provided funding for the Outbound Ghost after the Kickstarter campaign was successful so that the developer could work on it full time, and in exchange, Grindheim licensed the distribution rights to Digerati. So it's your basic developer-publisher situation. Developer develops, publisher helps provides money so that the developer can develop. And there we go. Quick update on December 10th. The publisher Digerati has now preempted a legal filing against Conradical Games, the developing studio, accusing the studio of making false claims about its role in the development and release of the console version and sabotaging sales of the game. And that's really what this all comes down to. Is we're not going to probably know the truth for a while, if ever. Like, it'll depend on if this goes to court, how much is disclosed from court. Maybe this will be settled out of court. We don't know. All we know is what we see, and whether Conradical Games is in the right, whether this all happened kind of as nefariously as he claims. I would say he definitely went about it the wrong way of like attacking the publisher outright, he flat out told people not to buy the game. And I understand there's probably a lot of emotions involved with developing a game. I can't imagine the amount of work and time and, sweat and tears he put into it, into this art, and then to have someone else have the final say in it. I'm sure I can't imagine. But now he has set himself up for some liability here because of that line about sabotaging sales of the game. Like, that's huge. So I'm not on the side of either parties here. I'm interested to see what happened here. The game looks neat. I don't know. I just like the art style. I have no idea. That's kind of why I was interested in looking at these articles. The game is back on Steam now. A lot of people are downvoting it because the developer said not to buy it. So something to keep an eye on, this saga here. And last news of the week, smaller, maybe a little lighter item, The Witcher 3. Next Gen came out, and it was sort of a buggy mess for a lot of people. Now I know there's people who will say, well, it wasn't a buggy mess for me. Well, that's good. It's like when The Witcher 3 launched, I had a great time with it with 0 bugs. That was not true for a lot of people out there. When Cyberpunk came out, some people didn't. That's how it goes. Like, just because there are a huge amount of buggy messes doesn't mean it's 100%. So let's move on from that. But there were enough that it made news. And I love this Forbes.com headline. The Witcher 3 Remastered performance is Cyberpunk launch level bad on PC right now. So sort of a clickbaity title, but basically they're just making the point right in the headline. CDPR has had a history of poor launches, and this large update to a 7-year-old game was no exception. So as of the recording of this episode, there has been no patch to fix it, and this would have been 3 days after launch. But I think CDPR did put out a statement saying that they're on it, right? They're trying to fix it. Most importantly right now, if you are trying to play the game and you can't, it looks like ray tracing is the biggest culprit. And if you just turn that off, that might fix a lot. Or just wait until they fix it. Or if you can try to roll back to a version before the update, that might fix it. So there is our gaming news for the week. All right, let's move on to some new releases. This week released was High on Life for the Xbox and PC. High on Life is from co-creator of Rick and Morty, Justin Roiland. This first-person shooter has you collecting guns which talk to you with attempts at humor. Blacktail for the PS5, Xbox, and PC. Blacktail, published by Focus Entertainment, is a first-person action-adventure where you play as 16-year-old Yaga to explore the wilds with your bow, gauntlet, and resource-gathering skills. There's also a claim that your decisions and actions affect the world using Blacktail's morality system. I'm not sure though, I have not played the game, but that is what they say happens. Melatonin for the PC, with a Switch release later, by the way. Melatonin, developed and published by Half Asleep, is a rhythm game set in a gorgeous dream world. There are over 20 levels, an unlockable hard mode, and a level editor. This is one of the games this week that I do really want to check out. It just looks super nice, and it's been a while since I've played a good rhythm game. Aka, I think Aka, for the Switch and PC. Aka is a small open-world game from developer Cosmo Gatto. You'll find yourself farming, crafting, inner peace finding, and card playing as some kind of cute animal. I think it might be a red panda, but I'm not sure. And finally, Cygnus Enterprises for the PC. Cygnus Enterprises, ? From Team Miozy, releases from Early Access this week. This is a base build and management sim, coupled with some first-person shooting, looting, and crafting in a futuristic alien world. And that wraps up our news and new releases for this week. Please like, subscribe, and comment below if you wish, and of course have yourselves a very nice day.